The arrow strikes Daphne in the chest with such force that she stumbles backward, her bare feet slipping on the marble floor of the grand hall. The second arrow follows before she can even scream, burying itself beside the first. The pain is unlike anything she has ever known. Not burning, not freezing, but something far worse. It feels like light itself is tearing through her veins, like her blood has become liquid fire. "The human dares to bleed in our sacred hall," the high priestess announces, her voice carrying through the cavernous space where hundreds of vampires have gathered to witness this execution. "See how the holy arrows purify her corrupted flesh." Daphne falls to her knees, both hands clutching at the twin shafts protruding from her chest. She can feel her heartbeat pulsing around the blessed wood, each thud sending fresh agony through her body. The arrows are carved from ancient ash trees, blessed by the first vampires who walked the earth, designed to destroy anything unholy. They should have turned her to dust the moment they pierced her skin, but she is still here, still breathing, still bleeding. "Please," she gasps, looking up at the throne where he sits, where Atticus watches with a face carved from stone, his silver eyes revealing nothing. "Please, my lord, I have done nothing wrong. I am not what they claim." The high priestess circles her like a predator, her crimson robes sweeping across the floor. "You were found in the blood archive, human, in chambers where no mortal has walked for 3,000 years. You touched texts that would drive a human mind to madness. You read words and languages that your kind cannot possibly comprehend." She leans down, her ancient face inches from Daphne's. "And yet you did not go mad. You did not die. Tell us, little mouse, what are you?" Daphne wants to explain. She wants to tell them that she was only looking for a way to save her younger sister, that she needed to understand the curse that is slowly killing the only family she has left. She wants to say that she meant no disrespect, that she would never have entered those forbidden halls if she had any other choice. But the pain is too great. The arrows are moving inside her chest, burrowing deeper, and she can feel something happening to her blood, something changing. "She is nothing," comes a voice from the assembled vampires. Lord Cassius, one of the elders, steps forward from the crowd. "A servant who forgot her place. Kill her quickly and be done with this farce. We have more important matters to discuss than the execution of one foolish human." Others murmur their agreement. To them, she is invisible, less than invisible. She is the woman who brings fresh linens to their chambers, who keeps her eyes downcast in the corridors, who has served in the blood court for 2 years without anyone bothering to learn her name. She is human, temporary, forgettable. "My lord Atticus," the high priestess says, turning to address the vampire on the throne. "As master of this court, the final judgment is yours. What is your command?" Atticus rises slowly from his seat. He is ancient, one of the original bloodlines, born in an age before written history. His power radiates from him like heat from a forge, making the air itself shimmer. He moves with the fluid grace of a predator, descending the steps of his throne with measured precision. Every vampire in the hall bows their head as he passes. He commands respect through presence alone, through the weight of centuries and the absolute authority he has earned. He stops in front of Daphne, towering over her kneeling form. She forces herself to look up at him, even though custom dictates that humans should never meet a vampire's gaze. She has served him for 2 years, has stood silently in the corner of his study while he worked, has brought him the ancient texts he requested, has heard him speak with advisors and allies and enemies. She has watched him move through the world with power and purpose, has seen him show mercy when others demanded blood, has witnessed his careful navigation of court politics. She has also fallen in love with him, though she has never spoken a word of it to anyone. How could she? She is human. He is eternal. The distance between them is infinite. "Remove the arrows," he says quietly. The high priestess draws back in shock. "My lord, the holy arrows are meant to remain until—" "Remove them." His voice carries absolute command. "Now." The high priestess hesitates for only a moment before gesturing to two of her attendants. They approach Daphne carefully, as though she might explode at any moment. Their hands close around the arrow shafts. They pull. Daphne screams. She cannot help it. The pain is beyond endurance, beyond thought. The arrows resist, as if they have grown roots inside her chest. The attendants pull harder, and finally the blessed wood tears free, bringing fresh blood with it. But the blood is wrong. It flows from the wounds in streams of crimson that shimmer with veins of pure silver. The moment it touches the marble floor, the stone begins to crack. Hairline fractures spread outward from where her blood pools, and a sound fills the hall. A sound like crystal bells, like distant thunder, like the song of stars. "Impossible," the high priestess breathes. Daphne stares at her own blood in horror. Silver veins pulse through the red, moving as if alive. The two wounds in her chest begin to glow with soft light, and she feels something inside her shifting, awakening, responding to the blessed wood that had pierced her flesh. The holy arrows had not destroyed her. They had activated something, unlocked something. The arrows in the attendants' hands begin to dissolve, not burning, not breaking, simply unmaking themselves, turning to streams of golden light that flow back toward Daphne. The light pours into her chest wounds, and she gasps as power floods through her. Ancient power, sacred power, the power of the blessed ash, of the holy weapons that had been crafted to destroy darkness. "She is absorbing the blessing," Lord Cassius says, his voice tight with fear. "She is taking the sacred power into herself. She must be destroyed immediately before—" "Silence!" Atticus has not moved, but his single word carries enough force to cut through the rising panic in the hall. His silver eyes are fixed on Daphne, and for the first time she sees something other than distant politeness in his gaze. She sees recognition, understanding, something that looks almost like wonder. The light from the arrows continues to pour into her. She can feel it merging with her blood, with her heartbeat, with the very core of who she is. The pain is fading, replaced by a sensation of wholeness, of completion, as if pieces of herself that had been missing are finally clicking into place. The wounds in her chest seal themselves, leaving behind marks that glow with soft silver light. Not scars, but symbols. Ancient runes that pulse in time with her heart. "What is happening to me?" she whispers. Atticus kneels beside her, and the entire hall gasps. A vampire of his age and power does not kneel for anyone, least of all a human servant. He reaches out slowly, as if asking permission, and places his hand over the glowing symbols on her chest. His touch is cool, gentle. When his skin makes contact with the marks, his own eyes flare with silver light that matches hers. "You are bloodborne," he says softly, his voice carrying a note she has never heard from him before. Awe. "You carry the bloodline of the first ones, the originals who walked between light and darkness, who could wield both sacred and shadow power. We thought your line was extinct. We thought the last of you died 3,000 years ago in the purge." "I am human," Daphne protests, even as silver light continues to emanate from her chest. "My mother was human. My father was human. I have no vampire blood, no—" "Not vampire," Atticus interrupts. "Something older. Something that existed before our kind split from yours. Before the curse of darkness claimed some and left others behind." His hand is still pressed to her chest, over the glowing marks. The bloodborn could walk in sunlight and shadow both. They could wield the sacred weapons without being destroyed. They could take power from anything that pierced their flesh and make it their own. The high priestess has gone pale. "If what you say is true, my lord, then she is more dangerous than we imagined. The bloodborn were hunted to extinction precisely because they could not be controlled," Atticus finishes. "Because they answered to no authority but their own. Because they threatened the power structure of every supernatural faction that arose after the Great Divide." He rises, pulling Daphne to her feet with him. She sways, still overwhelmed by the power coursing through her veins. He steadies her with a hand on her arm, and even that simple touch sends warmth flooding through her body. "But that was 3,000 years ago. Times have changed." "Have they?" Lord Cassius demands. "She has already taken the power of the holy arrows. What else might she claim? What other powers might she absorb? If she grows strong enough, she could challenge any of us. All of us." "Then perhaps," Atticus says, "we should not give her reason to view us as enemies." He turns to face the assembled court, and Daphne realizes that he has positioned himself between her and everyone else in the hall, protecting her. The gesture is subtle but unmistakable. A vampire lord of the original bloodline claiming protection over a human servant. The political implications ripple through the crowd like shockwaves. "This human has served my household faithfully for 2 years," Atticus continues. "She entered the blood archive not out of malice or ambition, but out of love for her sister. She risked death to find a cure for her family. That speaks to a character we should value, not destroy." "She broke our most sacred laws," the high priestess insists. "The blood archive is forbidden to all but—" "Laws can be amended. Punishments can be reconsidered." Atticus's voice drops to a deadly quiet. "I am invoking right of claim. As of this moment, she is under my direct protection. Any who wish to challenge that claim may face me in the old way." Silence. The old way means trial by combat, and no one in the hall is foolish enough to challenge Atticus to single combat. He has lived for millennia. He has survived wars, purges, revolutions. He has power that most vampires can only dream of. "The right of claim is meant for political alliances," the high priestess says carefully. "For protecting valuable assets, not for humans. The law does not specify what I may or may not claim," Atticus replies. "Only that once the claim is spoken, it cannot be revoked except by my death or by the willing departure of the one claimed." He glances back at Daphne. "Do you accept my protection?" She should say yes immediately. This is her only chance at survival. But something in his eyes makes her hesitate. This is not just about protection. This is about something deeper. Something that has been building between them through 2 years of careful distance, through stolen glances and unspoken words, through the 1,000 small moments when their hands almost touched while passing books, when their eyes met across crowded rooms, when she felt his gaze follow her as she left his study. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why protect me?" The corner of his mouth lifts in something that might be a smile. "Because from the moment you entered my service, I knew you were different. Because I have watched you show kindness to those beneath you, courage in the face of those above you, and devotion to your sister that puts most blood bonds to shame. Because when you read those ancient texts in the archive, you were not driven mad, you understood them. You translated languages that have been dead for millennia as easily as breathing. He pauses. And because when I look at you, I see someone who should have been destroyed by this world 100 times over, yet somehow remains unbroken. Heat rises in her cheeks. Around them, the court watches with avid attention. Every word spoken here will be repeated, analyzed, used as ammunition in the endless political games that define vampire society. I accept your protection, she says. The silver symbols on her chest flare brighter for an instant, and Atticus draws in a sharp breath. His eyes widen, and she sees something flash across his face: surprise, recognition, and an emotion she cannot quite name. The bond has acknowledged, he murmurs. You feel it? She does. The moment she spoke her acceptance, something locked into place inside her chest. Not the power from the arrows, that still swirls and settles in her blood, but something else, a connection. A thread that runs from her heart to his, thrumming with energy that feels both foreign and intimately familiar. What is this? She asks. A blood bond, the high priestess says, and her voice carries notes of shock and something that might be fear. But that is impossible. Blood bonds only form between true mates, Atticus finishes. Between souls that recognize each other across lifetimes. The hall erupts in whispers. Daphne hears fragments of conversation, words like impossible and unprecedented and abomination. She barely processes any of it. She is too focused on the feeling in her chest, the way her heart seems to beat in rhythm with something larger than herself. I do not understand, she says. We have barely spoken. We have never. Blood bonds are not forged through conversation, Atticus tells her. They exist or they do not. They recognize truth that words cannot express. He takes her hand, and the contact sends warmth flooding up her arm. I have lived for 3,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have known countless beings, formed countless alliances, even took lovers when the mood struck. But I have never felt this. Never known this certainty that someone is meant to stand beside me, not as servant or subject or temporary companion, but as equal, as partner. She is human, Lord Cassius spits. This is madness. She will age and die while you remain unchanged. The bond will shatter when she passes, and the pain could destroy you. You risk everything for... She is bloodborne, Atticus interrupts, which means she carries immortality in her veins as surely as I do. Once her powers fully awaken, she will not age. She will not die from time's passage. He pulls Daphne closer, and she can feel the coiled power in his body, the barely restrained violence that lurks beneath his civilized exterior. And she has just absorbed the essence of the holy arrows. That power alone would grant her centuries of life, even if her bloodline did not. Daphne's mind reels. Immortal. The word does not feel real. 3 hours ago, she was a servant, scrubbing floors and changing linens. Now she stands in the grand hall, with silver light glowing from her chest, bound by blood to one of the most powerful vampires in existence, discussing a lifespan measured in centuries. My sister, she says suddenly. You said I could find a cure in the archive. Did I? Before the arrows. Atticus's expression softens. You found references to the curse affecting her. It is called the draining, a slow leaching of life force caused by proximity to a cursed object, usually something small, a piece of jewelry, a token, a gift from someone who wished her harm. Relief and fear war inside Daphne's chest. She has a necklace, a silver chain with a blue stone. A man gave it to her 6 months ago, right before the weakness started. I told her to throw it away, but she said he would be angry if she did not wear it. The man who gave it to her, Atticus says carefully. Was he vampire? I think so. He only visited at night. He made her uncomfortable. But she said we needed his money, that his gifts helped pay for our room and food. Rage flashes across Atticus's face, so quick and fierce that several nearby vampires step back. A vampire cursing a human girl through a trinket is punishable by the oldest laws. It violates the covenant of protection we swore when we claimed dominion over the mortal realm. His grip on her hand tightens. Tell me his name. Vincent. I do not know his family name. He never said. I know him. Lord Cassius speaks up, and there is careful calculation in his voice. Vincent of the Shadow Court. He has been collecting human girls for decades, keeping them as pets, draining them slowly to prolong the experience. He pauses. If you move against him, you will be moving against the Shadow Court itself. They protect their own. Then the Shadow Court can prepare for war, Atticus says flatly. I will not permit such violations to stand, especially when they target the sister of my... He stops, seeming to catch himself. The sister of one under my protection. One under your protection, the High Priestess repeats. Is that all she is, my lord? Or shall we speak plainly about what the blood bond means? Atticus meets her gaze without flinching. The bond has formed. I do not deny it. Whether we choose to honor that bond, to build upon it, is a decision that belongs to myself and to Daphne, not to this court, not to anyone else. He is giving her a choice, Daphne realizes. He could claim her completely, invoke ancient laws that would bind her to him regardless of her wishes, but instead, he is offering her agency, even now, even in front of the entire court when demonstrating absolute control would serve his political interests better. I want my sister safe first, she says. Everything else can wait until I know she will live. Something warm enters Atticus's eyes. Pride, maybe, or respect. Then we will see to her safety immediately. The Shadow Court will answer for Vincent's crimes, and your sister will be healed. He turns back to the assembled vampires. This gathering is concluded. The human woman called Daphne is now formally under the protection of my house. The holy arrows have recognized her bloodline. Anyone who wishes to challenge either of these facts may present their grievance to me in private. No one speaks. No one moves. Very well. Atticus keeps hold of Daphne's hand as he walks toward the massive doors of the grand hall. The crowd parts before them like water, vampires bowing their heads as they pass. She can feel hundreds of eyes tracking their movement, can sense the political storms that will follow this night. They walk through corridors of carved stone, past tapestries that depict battles from ages she cannot name, under arched ceilings painted with stars that no longer exist. Atticus moves with purpose, and she has to hurry to match his longer stride. The bond in her chest pulses with each step, growing stronger the longer she stays near him. Where are we going? She asks. First, to retrieve your sister, then to my private chambers, where she can be examined safely. He glances at her. The transformation you are experiencing will continue for several hours, perhaps days. You will need somewhere secure to weather it. Transformation? The power you absorbed from the arrows is still integrating with your blood. Your body is changing to accommodate abilities you were born with, but have never accessed. His thumb brushes across her knuckles, a gesture so casual and yet so intimate that it makes her breath catch. It may be painful. It will certainly be disorienting, but you will not face it alone. They emerge from the palace into the night air. The grounds are beautiful, carefully tended gardens surrounding fountains that dance with water and light. But Atticus walks past all of it, heading for the servants' quarters at the edge of the estate. The simple wooden buildings where humans like Daphne live when they serve the blood court. "Which room is yours?" he asks. "Building 3, second floor, end of the hall." She hesitates. "My lord, you should not be seen entering the servants' quarters. It will cause talk." "Let them talk." He finds Building 3 easily, climbing the exterior stairs with inhuman grace. The door to her room is not locked. Servants have nothing worth stealing. He pushes it open and steps inside. The space is tiny. A single bed, a small table, a chair. A shelf holds her few possessions: extra clothes, a hairbrush, a book of poetry her mother left her. In the bed, her sister lies sleeping, her breathing shallow and labored. Even from across the room, Daphne can see how thin she has become, how pale. "Grace," she whispers, rushing to the bedside. "Grace, wake up." Her sister's eyes flutter open. At 13, she should be full of energy and life. Instead, she looks like a faded watercolor, all her colors draining away. "Daphne, I had the strangest dream. I thought I heard you screaming." "Not a dream," Daphne says gently. She reaches for the necklace around her sister's throat, but Atticus stops her with a hand on her wrist. "Do not touch it directly. The curse will try to latch onto you." He produces a cloth from his pocket, wraps it carefully around the silver chain, and lifts the necklace away from Grace's skin. The moment the cursed object is removed, color begins to return to the girl's face. Her breathing deepens, steadies. "What?" Grace blinks up at them, confusion written across her features. "Who is he? Daphne, why is there a vampire lord in our room?" "It is a very long story," Daphne says. "But the important part is that you are going to be all right. The necklace Vincent gave you was cursed. It was making you sick. But now it is gone, and you will heal." Atticus examines the necklace through the cloth, his expression dark. "This is powerful work. Expensive. Vincent paid dearly to have this crafted, which means he wanted her to suffer specifically. Not just any human girl, your sister in particular." He looks at Daphne. "Did you anger him somehow? Refuse him something?" "He asked me to join them," Daphne admits quietly. "He wanted both of us. I said no. I told Grace to stay away from him, but the money he offered was so much, and we were behind on rent, and I was trying to save enough to buy medicine for the cough she had last winter." "So he punished you through her," Atticus says. "Clever. Cruel, but clever." He pockets the cursed necklace carefully. "He will answer for this. But first, we need to get you both somewhere safe." "I am not leaving Daphne," Grace says immediately, struggling to sit up. "I do not care if you are a vampire lord or the king of the entire world. I am not going anywhere without my sister." Despite everything, Daphne has to smile. Her sister has always been fierce, even when dying. Especially when dying. I would not dream of separating you, Atticus says, and there is genuine warmth in his voice. You will both come to my chambers. The blood bond means that what threatens Daphne threatens me, and I take threats to myself very seriously. Grace's eyes go wide. Blood bond? Daphne, what happened to you? I told you, Daphne says. It is a very long story. Atticus bends and lifts Grace from the bed as if she weighs nothing. The girl makes a startled sound but does not protest. We will explain everything once you are somewhere comfortable, he tells her. For now, trust that your sister has had an eventful evening and that both of your lives are about to change significantly. They return to the palace through a different entrance, one that leads directly to the private wing where Atticus maintains his personal quarters. The corridors here are quieter, lit by soft glowing orbs that float near the ceiling. Servants bow deeply as they pass, their eyes widening at the sight of their master carrying a human child, while another human woman walks freely at his side. His chambers are magnificent. Multiple rooms flow into each other, a study lined with books that span centuries, a sitting room with furniture that looks both ancient and impossibly comfortable, a bedroom dominated by a bed large enough for 4 people. Everything speaks of wealth and taste accumulated over thousands of years. He settles Grace on a couch in the sitting room, then steps back. I will send for a healer, someone who specializes in curse removal. The necklace is gone, but the residual effects may linger. Thank you, Grace says quietly. Then, with typical bluntness, are you going to turn my sister into a vampire? Grace! Daphne's face flames. But Atticus does not seem offended. No, she does not need to be turned. She already carries immortality in her blood. He glances at Daphne and something passes between them. That strange thrumming awareness, the bond pulling them together like gravity. Though, if she wished for the full transformation, to become vampire completely, that would be her choice to make. I am not entirely sure what I am right now, Daphne admits. You said bloodborne, that I have powers, but I feel the same as always, except for the silver in my blood and these marks on my chest, and the connection to you that I cannot explain. The powers will emerge as your body adjusts, Atticus tells her. Some you may discover accidentally, others will require training to access, but you will have time to learn. You will have all the time in the world, if you choose. A soft knock at the door interrupts them. Atticus calls permission to enter, and an elderly woman sweeps into the room. She wears the robes of a healer, deep green embroidered with symbols of renewal. Her eyes are sharp and knowing as they take in the scene, the human child on the couch, the other human woman with silver marks glowing on her chest, and Atticus himself standing close enough to Daphne that his protectiveness is obvious. My lord, the healer says, bowing, you summoned me? The girl has been cursed through an object. The object has been removed, but I want to ensure no lasting damage remains. He gestures to Grace. Examine her thoroughly. I will accept nothing less than complete healing. The healer moves to Grace's side, gentle hands already glowing with soft amber light. This may tingle a bit, child. Try to relax. While the healer works, Atticus draws Daphne toward the window. The view looks out over the city beyond the palace grounds, thousands of lights twinkling in the darkness. Up here, removed from the court and its politics, the world feels almost peaceful. You are shaking, he observes quietly. She is. Now that the immediate crisis has passed, now that Grace is being tended and the cursed necklace is gone, her body is catching up to everything that happened. The arrows, the pain, the transformation, the blood bond. It crashes over her in waves, and she cannot seem to stop trembling. Atticus removes his coat, heavy black fabric lined with silver thread, and drapes it around her shoulders. It smells like him, like night air and old books and something darker, wilder. The scent calms her racing heart somewhat. I thought I was going to die, she whispers. When those arrows hit, I was certain my life was over. I would not have allowed it. His voice carries absolute conviction. Even before the bond formed, even before I knew what you were, I would have found a way to save you. Do you know why? She shakes her head. Because 2 years ago, you were brought to my study to serve as an assistant while my regular staff was ill. You were terrified. I could smell your fear. But when I asked you to retrieve a book from the highest shelf, you climbed the ladder without hesitation, without complaint. And when you handed me the book, you met my eyes for just a moment. He touches her cheek gently, turning her face toward his. In that moment, I saw courage. Real courage. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. And I thought, here is someone who understands what it means to be truly alive. I was just doing my job, she says, though her voice comes out breathless. No, you were being yourself. Brave and kind and stubborn and brilliant. His thumb brushes across her cheekbone. I have spent 2 years watching you move through my household, showing compassion to other servants, standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, studying every text I left within your reach because you hunger for knowledge the way others hunger for food. I have spent 2 years wanting to know you, to speak with you as something other than master and servant, to discover if the woman I glimpsed in those stolen moments was as remarkable as she seemed. And now? She asks. Now that you know what I am? Now that we have this bond? Now, he says softly, I know that fate is not cruel, that the universe occasionally grants gifts beyond measure. His hand slides from her cheek to rest over the glowing marks on her chest, and the contact sends warmth flooding through her entire body. The blood bond does not lie, Daphne. It recognizes truth. And the truth it has shown me is that you are meant to stand at my side, not as servant, not as property, as partner, as equal. I am not your equal, she protests. You are ancient and powerful, and you absorb the power of holy arrows that should have destroyed you. You carry a bloodline we thought extinct. You walked into forbidden archives seeking knowledge to save your sister, knowing that discovery meant death, and you did it anyway. His eyes flash silver. You have strength I can only admire, power I am only beginning to understand, and a heart that puts mine to shame. Before she can respond, the healer calls out from across the room. My lord, the examination is complete. They turn as one, and Daphne feels the bond hum with shared concern. Grace sits up on the couch, looking far healthier than she has in months. Color has returned fully to her cheeks. Her eyes are bright and alert. The curse is cleansed, the healer reports. The damage was significant, but nothing permanent. With rest and proper food, she will recover completely within a week. Perhaps sooner. She is young and resilient. The healer pauses. However, I must note something unusual. The girl has traces of the blood-borne lineage as well. Not as strong as her sister, but present nonetheless. Atticus and Daphne exchange glances. Our parents were human, Daphne says. I am certain of it. The blood-borne lineage can skip generations, the healer explains, lying dormant until awakened by stress or trauma or, in rare cases, proximity to one whose power has already emerged. Your transformation likely triggered a sympathetic response in your sister's blood. She will not be as powerful as you, but she will live longer than normal humans, perhaps much longer. Grace grins, apparently delighted by this news. Does this mean I get to learn magic? It means, Atticus says firmly, that you will be trained properly so that your abilities do not endanger you or others. I will see to it personally. The healer bows and takes her leave. Silence settles over the room, broken only by the soft crackling of the fire in the hearth. Grace yawns hugely, exhaustion finally catching up with her now that the curse is lifted. "You should rest," Daphne tells her sister. "It has been a very long night." "For you more than me," Grace points out. "You are the one who got shot with magic arrows and bonded to a vampire lord." She eyes Atticus speculatively. "Are you going to marry my sister?" "Grace!" But Atticus laughs, a genuine sound of amusement that transforms his stern features. "That depends entirely on whether she will have me," he says. "The bond suggests we are compatible, but compatibility and willingness are not the same thing." "She will have you," Grace says confidently. "She has been in love with you for months. She just never said anything because she thought you were completely out of her reach." Daphne wants to sink through the floor. "Grace, you were not supposed to—" Grace continues, apparently enjoying her sister's mortification. "She talks about you constantly, how you are always kind to the servants, how you read until dawn in your study, how you never raise your voice even when the other lords are shouting. She sketches you sometimes, when she thinks I am sleeping, little drawings in the margins of her poetry book." "That is enough," Daphne manages, her face burning. "You need to sleep, now, immediately." Grace giggles, but allows herself to be settled on the enormous bed in Atticus's private chamber. Within minutes, she is asleep, her breathing deep and even. Daphne pulls the covers up carefully, smoothing her sister's hair back from her face. When she returns to the sitting room, Atticus is waiting by the fire. He has removed his formal jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and loosened the collar of his shirt. It is the most casual she has ever seen him, and somehow that makes him even more striking. "Sketches?" he asks, and his eyes are bright with amusement. "She was not supposed to know about those," Daphne mutters. "I thought I was being subtle." "Come here." It is not a command exactly, more like an invitation. She crosses to stand in front of him, and he takes both her hands in his. "I need you to understand something. The blood bond is powerful, ancient, but it does not force affection. It recognizes compatibility, potential, a connection between souls. What we do with that connection is our choice." "What do you want to do with it?" she asks quietly. "Everything," he says simply. "I want to know every thought in your brilliant mind, every dream you hide in your heart, every fear, every hope, every secret desire. I want to stand beside you while you learn to wield the power sleeping in your blood. I want to watch you become everything you were meant to be. I want to build a life together that spans centuries, that weathers storms and celebrates victories, that grows deeper with each passing year." "That sounds like marriage," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is more than marriage. It is partnership in the truest sense. Blood bonds do not break. They do not fade. Once fully formed, once acknowledged and honored, they last until the final death of both parties." He brings her hands to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. "So I am asking you, Daphne, who was a servant and is now so much more, will you build that life with me? Will you accept this bond not just as protection, but as promise?" She thinks about the past 2 years, all those moments of watching him from afar, of treasured conversations about books and history, of wondering what it would be like to truly know him. She thinks about the arrows piercing her chest, about the power flowing through her veins, about the marks that glow with silver light. She thinks about Grace sleeping peacefully in the next room, about Vincent's curse and the Shadow Court's crimes, about all the ways the world is dangerous for humans who have no one to protect them. and she thinks about the way Atticus looks at her, not as servant, not as possession, but as something infinitely precious. "Yes," she says, "I accept. I want all of it. Everything you described. The life, the partnership, the centuries together. I want it with you." The bond flares in her chest, so bright and warm that she gasps. His eyes flash silver, and she watches in fascination as symbols appear on his skin, marks that match the ones on her chest, ancient runes that glow with the same soft light. They spread up his arms, across his throat, marking him as thoroughly as the arrows marked her. "The bond is complete," he murmurs. "We are bound in blood and soul, eternal mates." He pulls her close, and she goes willingly into his arms. His lips find hers in a kiss that is somehow both gentle and possessive, a claiming and a promise all at once. Power flows between them through the bond, her silver light mixing with his darker energy, creating something new and perfect. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, she sees that his fangs have extended. Not in threat, in desire, in need. "I want to taste you," he says roughly, "to seal the bond in the old way, with blood shared between us. But only if you wish it. Only if you are ready." She thinks about what she knows of vampire bonds. Blood shared in love and trust creates an unbreakable connection. It would allow them to sense each other across any distance, to share strength and power, to know each other's emotions as clearly as their own. "I am ready," she tells him. He guides her to sit on the couch, settling beside her. His fangs gleam in the firelight, sharp and deadly, and somehow beautiful. "It will not hurt," he promises. "I will make certain of it. And when it is done, you will be able to take my blood in return. The exchange will complete the bond fully." She tilts her head, offering her throat. He presses a kiss to her pulse point first, tender and reverent. Then his fangs pierce her skin. He was right. It does not hurt. Instead, pleasure floods through her, warm and sweet and overwhelming. She feels him drinking, feels their connection deepen with each pull, feels his satisfaction and wonder and love pouring through the bond. Her own blood tastes different now, she realizes. The silver power from the arrows has changed it, made it something unique. He drinks for only a moment before pulling back. His eyes are molten silver, his fangs still stained crimson. "Your turn," he says, voice rough with desire. He draws a sharp nail across his own throat, and dark blood wells up. She leans forward, pressing her mouth to the wound. His blood tastes like night and power and eternity. It flows across her tongue, and she feels her body changing again, accepting this gift, incorporating his strength into her own. The bond between them becomes a brilliant thing, a living connection that pulses with shared heartbeats and mingled power. When she finally pulls away, the wound on his throat has already healed. The marks on both their bodies glow brighter, pulsing in perfect synchronization. "How do you feel?" he asks, brushing her hair back from her face. "Complete," she says, surprised by the truth of it. "Like I have been walking around with pieces missing my entire life, and now they are all finally in place." He smiles, and it transforms his whole face. She has seen him serious, stern, commanding, but this smile is pure joy, unguarded and genuine. "That is exactly how it feels," he agrees. They sit together by the fire, wrapped in each other's arms, as the night slowly gives way to dawn. Through the windows, she can see the sky beginning to lighten. For vampires, sunrise means retreat into darkness, but for bloodborne, I want to try something, she says. Atticus follows her to the window. Together, they watch as the sun breaks over the horizon, painting the world in shades of gold and rose. The light touches her skin, and she braces for pain or burning. But nothing happens. She stands in full sunlight, feeling its warmth on her face, and she does not burn. Your bloodline, Atticus says softly. The bloodborne could walk in daylight. The arrows restored that ability fully. And you? She asks, looking at him with concern. But he stands beside her, bathed in morning light, and he does not burn either. Through the bond, she can feel his wonder, his shock. The blood we shared, he realizes. Your power is protecting me, allowing me to stand in sunlight for the first time in 3,000 years. They stand together as dawn breaks fully, two beings who should not be able to exist in this moment, made possible by blood and bond and love. In the bedroom beyond, Grace sleeps peacefully, safe and healing. In the palace below, the court will be waking to news that will reshape their entire political landscape. And somewhere in the city, Vincent and the Shadow Court prepare for a reckoning they cannot imagine. But for now, in this moment, none of that matters. What matters is the warmth of the sun on their faces, the strength of their joined hands, the certainty that they have found something precious and rare, a partnership that will endure through centuries, through challenges, through whatever storms may come. I love you, Daphne says quietly, the words falling from her lips before she can think better of them. I know it is too soon, and I know we are still learning each other, but I need you to know. I have loved you since the first time you smiled at me over a pile of books. Since the first time you asked my opinion on a text instead of just ordering me to fetch something. Since the first time you made me feel like I mattered. It is not too soon, Atticus says, pulling her closer. Not when our souls have been searching for each other across millennia. Not when the bond has shown us truth we would have spent years discovering otherwise. He tips her face up to meet his gaze. I love you, Daphne, who was servant and is now queen of my heart, mate of my soul, bearer of ancient power and impossible courage. I love you with everything I am and everything I will ever be. He kisses her again, slow and deep and full of promise. The sun rises higher, and they stand together in its light, bound by blood and choice and love. The story of the human servant girl who was shot with holy arrows and lived is just beginning. The tale of what she will become, what they will build together, stretches out before them like an unwritten book. There will be challenges, the Shadow Court to face, powers to master, a place to forge in a society that fears change. But they will face all of it together, two souls made one by bond and blood, strong enough to weather any storm. And when the story is finally told, when bards and historians recount the rise of the blood-born queen who walked in sunlight and shadow both, who claimed an ancient vampire lord as her eternal mate, who changed the very nature of their world, when that tale is sung in halls across the centuries, it will begin like this. Once, there was a woman who was underestimated by everyone who saw her. Once, there were arrows blessed by ancient power, meant to destroy all they touched. Once, there was a bond that proved stronger than death itself. And once, in a moment of crisis that should have ended in tragedy, everything changed. Power found its rightful vessel. Love recognized its true form. And two souls destined for each other across the ages finally came home. In the palace below, the court stirs. Soon there will be politics to navigate, enemies to face, a world to reshape. But for now, as the morning sun climbs higher into a sky full of possibility, Atticus and Daphne stand together in the light, complete and whole, and ready for whatever comes next. Together, always, eternal. Did you like the story? Do you want a part 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, tell us which state you're watching from so I can give you a shout out in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay updated on our next uploads. Thanks for watching!